Welcome to another read aloud for our fairy tale theme. This week I have a retelling of Little Red Riding Hood. So, this version of Little Red Riding Hood is a newfangled prairie tale instead of a fairy tale. And when it says prairie tale, that makes me think of maybe a farm. So I think our setting could be a little different for this story. We can see Little Red Riding Hood riding a bicycle, and here's the big bad wolf in the corner. This version of Little Red Riding Hood is by Lisa Campbell Ernst. Alright, so Little Red Riding Hood, a newfangled prairie tale. Once upon a time, there was a little girl who lived at the edge of a great prairie. Because she always wore a jacket with a red hood when she rode her bike, everyone called her Little Red Riding Hood. Here she is with her red jacket on her red bicycle. I think that must be her favorite color. Now, one morning, as Little Red Riding Hood sat eating her favorite wheat berry muffins, she had an idea. "Mom," she said, "it's going to be a real scorcher today." That means it's going to be super hot outside. "Grandma sure would love it if I brought her some muffins and lemonade. You know how crabby she gets in the heat." Little Red Riding Hood loved visiting her grandmother. "Great idea," her mom said. There they are. Mom's making muffins for breakfast, and Little Red Riding Hood is going to take some with her to her grandmother's house. What's your favorite breakfast food? Do you like to eat muffins for breakfast? Or what's your favorite kind of muffin? So Little Red Riding Hood's mother packed the still warm wheatberry muffins and cold lemonade into a basket. After airing up the tires on her bike and testing her brakes, Little Red Riding Hood set out on her way. "Now don't forget," called her mother, "go straight to Grandma's, and whatever you do, don't talk to strangers." "Sure, Mom," Little Red Riding Hood promised. Here she is, going off on her bicycle to visit Grandma. Do you think she's going to follow Mom's directions? Little Red Riding Hood pedaled down Toad Road, past the gas station, the feed store, and the old Wilson place. She waved at everyone she saw, and everyone waved back. She must be pretty popular. As the edge of town disappeared and the prairie began, Little Red Riding Hood zigzagged between the crops, taking the shortcut to Grandma's house. Blackbirds startled and sunflowers swayed as she whizzed by. "What a nice visit this will be," Little Red Riding Hood said. "Grandma simply adores muffins and lemonade." There she is, going through the fields. There's the blackbirds. On her way to Grandma's. Uh-oh. But who should be cutting through that same field? And up to no good, I might add, but a very hungry wolf. When the smell of those wheatberry muffins came wafting his way, the wolf's nose quivered. "Gadzooks," he whispered, "what is that scrumptious smell?" The wolf rushed towards the heavenly odor. "Whatever it is, I must have it," he growled. There he is, smelling the muffins. Uh-oh, what's going to happen? With one giant leap, the wolf landed right in front of Little Red Riding Hood's bicycle. "Aha!" he roared. Little Red Riding Hood slammed on her brakes. "Hey, be careful," she shouted. "You could get hurt surprising someone like that." The wolf chuckled at the warning. "Ha ha ha. What's in the basket, dearie?" he asked, with a wide-toothed grin. Here he is. He jumped out in front of her. She looks super surprised. I would not expect somebody to jump in front of me while I was riding my bike. Muffins and lemonade," Little Red Riding Hood said slowly, "for my grandmother." But such a tantalizing smell. That means the muffins smelled delicious. The wolf drooled. They must be very special muffins. Oh, they are, Little Red Riding Hood said proudly. They're my grandma's secret recipe, and they always take first prize at the fair. The wolf licked his lips. She must be a dear, sweet woman, he crooned. Do you have very far to travel? Oh, no, Little Red Riding Hood answered. Just over that ridge, this side of Turkey Creek. The wolf smirked, his mouth curling up at the corners. How fortunate. So here's Little Red Riding Hood. She's talking to the big bad wolf, who's very hungry. And it doesn't seem like she followed Mom's directions. She doesn't really know the wolf. He's a stranger. But she's telling him where she's going, which is not the smartest idea. Let's see. I have to go, Little Red Riding Hood said quickly. My grandma's waiting. The wolf slyly turned in the opposite direction and pointed. Ooh, he gasped. What beautiful flowers! Such a dear, sweet grandmother surely deserves some of those. Little Red Riding Hood nodded. Hey, gee, you're right, she said, jumping off her bike. Grandma loves flowers. Do you think she would like these white ones too? But the whistle of the prairie wind was the only response. The wolf was gone. Here she is picking flowers. She's got some sunflowers and little white flowers down here. And we can see the wolf's tail, big bushy tail, as he's prowling away. He successfully distracted her. Of course, the wolf had a dastardly plan. That means evil. Ha ha ha, he laughed wildly as he raced through the wheat. First, I'll surprise that silly old granny and steal her recipe. Then I wait for the kid in the red jacket to show up with the treats. Soon I'll hold the secret to those delectable muffins. And those two country bumpkins won't know what hit 'em. His evil chuckles drifted through the fields. Uh-oh, he's got an evil plan going on. When the wolf arrived at Grandma's house, he found a note on the door. Little Red Riding Hood, out in the field. Love, Grandma. This'll be easier than I thought, the wolf snarled. Grandma's obviously off her rocker. That means he thinks she's crazy. Wandering around in this heat. Muddled brains are so easy to persuade, the wolf cackled, feeling enormously pleased with his good fortune. So Grandma's out in the fields. That means I think the wolf feels like he's going to be lucky and just get that recipe. But when the wolf searched the fields for Little Red Riding Hood's tottering granny, all he could see was a farmer riding a tractor. He looks confused. Here he is, chasing after the farmer in the red tractor. Impatient, he shouted, Hey, old man! Where's the ancient granny who lives in the house? The farmer, though, seemed to hear nothing. Very well, the wolf said with a snicker, and he began to silently sneak up behind the tractor. Uh-oh. What do you think the farmer's going to do? Then, before the wolf knew what was happening, the farmer whirled around and grabbed him by his fancy suspenders. There he is. Hold it right there, scoundrel, the farmer shouted. What in tarnation do you think you're doing? The wolf gasped and stammered, I'm looking for the frail, crazy, muffin-baking granny who lives in the house. Well, Sherlock, burned the farmer, whose grip tightened on the wolf, you're talking to her. Uh-oh. Grandma said she was out in the fields. She's the farmer. That wolf did not get away with his plan. What do you think she's going to do to punish him? The wolf's mouth dropped open, and he began to shake. My, he finally whispered. What big eyes you have, Grandma. All the better to see you skulking around my fields, Grandma answered. My, what big ears you have, Grandma, the wolf croaked. All the better to hear you coming, Grandma answered. My, what big hands you have, Grandma, the wolf groaned. All the better to crush you like a bug, if need be, said Grandma. And lucky for the wolf, Little Red Riding Hood rolled up at just that moment. Grandma is not happy with the wolf. Grandma, are you okay? Called Little Red Riding Hood. Sure, sweetie, Grandma said. Here's Little Red Riding Hood arriving on her bicycle with her flowers. Together, Little Red Riding Hood and Grandma marched the grumbling wolf to Grandma's kitchen, Grandma lecturing all the way. Didn't you think if there was a Little Red Riding Hood, there could be a Big Red Riding Hood? I thought I got rid of bullies like you when I moved away from that forest. Might as well have a bite to eat while we decide what to do next, Grandma said. The wolf, for once, was silent, his mouth full of delicious muffins. Of course, Grandma said at last. Here they are, Grandma, Little Red, and the wolf, all eating some of the muffins and lemonade. What do you think Grandma's idea is? Soon after, Grandma opened her own muffin shop in town, just west of the post office. The wolf, well, he was her chief baker, sales clerk, and dishwasher, being kept much too busy to cause trouble for anyone. Naturally, the wolf got to eat all the muffins he wanted, which improved his personality enormously. But just in case he got any ideas about stealing Grandma's recipe again, Grandma always put in the last secret ingredient herself. So I guess the wolf was just cranky because he was hungry, which can happen sometimes. And now he gets to eat all the muffins he wants, so he's a lot nicer. And it looks like Grandma called her store Grandma's Muffin Palace. And it's very popular because we can see all kinds of little kids down here that are ordering muffins. What do you think the secret ingredient is? What would you put as the secret ingredient in your muffins? Little Red Riding Hood, too, went to work for her grandmother, delivering muffins on her bike. Every day, rain or shine, the wolf carefully packed Little Red Riding Hood's basket. Hey, kid, he called after her as she whizzed down Toad Road. Don't talk to strangers. And Little Red Riding Hood never did again. So now she learned that's how they got in trouble with the wolf. Not to talk to strangers anymore. And on our last little page here, we can see Grandma and Little Red Riding Hood on the tractor going across the fields. And here is Grandma's wheatberry muffin recipe. I will write that down for you guys and post it down in the description in case you want to make that together. And it looks like the secret ingredient is a little bit of sunflower seeds. So that's interesting. All right. I hope you guys enjoyed that Prairie version of Little Red Riding Hood, and I will see you the next time we have a read aloud.